Get those nerds!
All right, look, it's time for Bid Nerds. Bid Nerds is back. Can you believe that? We're here. My name's John Polnick, along with my partner, Michael Deeb. I want to say welcome back, everyone. If you've been waiting for the Bid Nerds to come back, we're here. We've been working really hard to get our studio situation sorted out. We had some issues, as some of you may know, with audio, but who cares? This is the show where we nerd out on the most interesting car of the day from all the automotive enthusiast auction sites. Michael Deeb, what do you think about being back as a nerd?
Oh, dude, this is awesome. Plus, we're shooting at night. I mean, this feels super pro right now. Allegedly, my audio is going to be apparently. I think they quantified it at like 1,000 times better. And then I love the new format. We got a new host, a new system to host the show. So I'm excited, man. I think 2023 is going to be really good for us. So here we go.
All right, guys, we are working really hard for you, and we want to mention our new sponsor, God and Porsche of Las Vegas. If you are on the hunt for an enthusiast car, which if you're watching the show, that's probably your jam, right? You're looking at BAT, Cars and Bids, PCAR Market. It's kind of hard to find the car you want. When you just go to somebody like God and Porsche of Las Vegas, you want a classic Porsche, just go talk to them. Now, they still have that God and delivery thing. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. They'll send Tony out with the Ford GT trailer and drop the car off to you anywhere west of the Mississippi, right?
But that's God and that's something
delivery.
Else. No, the God and delivery.
They fly you in.
Yeah, they'll fly you in. They'll put you up on a hotel on the strip, like the Aria or whatever. Let you drive your Porsche around, and then when you go home, and then they'll ship it to your house. So,
but JP, I actually read the fine print on that, and the hotel on the strip is actually you get to curl up in the dog bed next to Patootie. And it's in your apartment, which is on the Vegas Strip. So it's not quite what it seems, but it is really nice.
Fair enough. We have a really good view, and Patootie's a pretty cute little dog. All right, guys. Enough about our sponsor. We'll talk about them again, I'm sure. But thanks for sticking around, guys. All right, let's get to the cars. The cars are what it's about. We're going to talk about we're going to make a prediction of what's going to happen with this car's auction. Will it meet reserve? Is there a reserve? Is it going to blow expectations away? We will find out at the end of this episode. Stick around. We do have a future machine. We hop in our DeLorean flux capacitor, and we will go to the future where we will find out exactly what happened with the results. So stick around to the end of the show, and we'll show you what happens. Hey, and play along with us. You think you're better at this than we are? Let's see your bids, guys. As we make predictions, let us know what your prediction for these cars are. And a lot of times we don't know anything about the cars, if we're honest. And I wind up learning quite a bit from the comments. People out there really know their stuff. So, all right, enough about all that. Let's get to the car. Today's car, I know you and I both really love these. We're Porsche guys. So what are we talking about today?
All right, JP, I'm going to bust myself right out of the gate. I'm going to say this is my favorite Porsche that I've never driven. I've never driven one of these. I've never felt the rear-wheel drive, limited slip differential, 345 horsepower of the 2004 Porsche 996 40th anniversary model, of which this is on PCAR Market. Our car is offered to us on the auction site out of Oyster Bay, New York. So my guess is this is somebody who has a decent relationship with the boys at PCAR Market, and the car is probably in their shop. That being said, this looks like a really nice example, JP. Now, there does seem to be an accident confirmed on the Carfax, but there's little detail, as is sometimes the case with the PCAR Market people. They don't really mention it, but it is on the Carfax. The accident happened in 2009. But other than that, what you get here is a low-mile example, 35,000 miles, and some really cool modifications to the car. Basically, somebody plumped and paid the money for Öhlins coilover suspension, which I would say is probably one of the best coilover systems you can find for a car. Add to that there is just about a full Fab Speed exhaust with Fab Speed's own Sport Cat mufflers. I believe the entire suspension system and exhaust system that came stock with the car are included in the sale. There's a few other things like an ECU tune, and there's some Ceramic Pro paint protection that's been done to the car. But other than that, the goodies that came from Porsche on this car are really outstanding. You've got the GT Silver paint job, you've got the narrow body 996, you've got the turbo front valance and the GT3 rockers. But the big thing is under the hood, where all these cars are treated to the X51 option package, which in this case gives the car, I think, like an additional 25 horsepower. And it's not just like an ECU flash. I mean, there's some internals in the motor that are different. Now, one of the big questions as this lot opened on PCAR Market was that the seller could not find confirmation that the IMS bearing had been done by a previous owner than himself. He has contacted the previous owner, who reconfirmed that he did do the IMS, put him in touch with the dealership or the independent repair facility that did it. They also verbally confirmed that the IMS was done, but they don't have any paperwork on it because it allegedly was so long ago. So if you are comfortable with that, then this car should not need an IMS bearing. The only mystery left for this car is what was the extent of the damage in the accident. There's not a lot written on it here, but the car looks to be in really nice condition. And these are, I don't know, would you call it a rare car? There seems to always be a handful of these for sale in the country. By that rationale, I wouldn't say they're that rare. But they've got to be one of the nicest non-Metzger motors from the 996 generation, and certainly an excellent driver's car if you're ever fortunate enough to get behind the wheel of one. I've lusted after these for a long time. I just don't know if I'm going to plunk down $50,000 plus for a nice one when even an IMS bearing replacement could still fail. And I, for one, you know me, John, I'll drive the snot out of my car. I mean, I run my car on the road like it's doing track duty. So I don't know if it's the right car for me because I expect a lot from my engine from a reliability standpoint, and these just aren't the most reliable cars. But from a pure driving standpoint, these are fantastic cars without having to spend the money for a Metzger engine. So here's a nice one out of Oyster Bay, JP. Would you give it a yay or nay? Look at that stance in the opening photo. I mean, the Olin suspension. This car looks really good. Must have wheel spacers on there.
It is a beautiful car, and I would love to own one, but like you, I'm a little scared. It is just not. I mean, the M96 engine is made of glass. I mean, I've heard of these things lasting, for 150,000 miles, but then, you also, how often have you read an ad for one? And it says that the engine's been replaced. I mean, that's just like, geez. I've driven one of these, and you're absolutely right. Well, you haven't driven one, but I will tell you that they are as spectacular as you would think. It's like a 996 with 997S power. It has that extra bit of poop that you always feel like the 3.6 is kind of missing. It has that lightweight feel to it. It kind of has that GT3 feel. I got to imagine that this one in particular, with the Olin suspension and the drop links and all that kind of really cool stuff under there. The X51 package is what gives the car the extra power, but it's my understanding that a lot of that is exhaust, and so this car's had new headers and Fab Speed stuff, which my guess is probably lighter than the factory stuff. So you're probably going to have at least the same amount of power, but dropping a little weight never hurts on one of these cars.
Right.
I wish I had the factory stereo, even though the factory stereos are terrible. Maybe it mentioned that it has that stuff. I don't know.
No, but Porsche Classic now makes a new head unit for the nav and stereo system for the 996 generation cars. Yeah. So that would be a cool upgrade if you owned one of these. I would definitely, and I know it's a couple grand, but I'd spend the money for it because I think it would really enhance being in the car while you're there. But this car with an ECU flash and that exhaust, I'm telling you, John, this car is probably close to 300 or 400 horsepower. It's got to be something.
No way.
You don't think so?
Not a chance. I mean, if this
Really?
If this thing's above 350, I'd be shocked. Which is great for one of these. I mean, there's no way. I mean, a GT3 isn't even 400 horsepower. It's like 380 something. So no way. But still, great power, lots of fun, and man, this has got to handle great. So the big question really is this car, is it going to come in at a number where you just don't care if that engine goes? How many miles did you say it has, Michael?
35,000 miles. And John, this car, essentially, as we're recording this car closes tomorrow. So we're in the final 20 hours of this car's lot, and it's sitting at just $25,000.
And did you say it has a reserve or no?
It does. This is a reserve car.
Yeah. And I always have an issue with cars from the East Coast. You always got to watch out for East Coast cars because the road conditions are terrible there, especially in the wintertime with all the salt and the grime and stuff like that. Looking at the underside of this car, it looks like it's in pretty clean shape. I suspect that this car probably spent, with only 35,000 miles on it, this was a fair weather car probably. So, it wasn't out there commuting in the wintertime or anything like that. So it doesn't look like you have to worry about any of that kind of stuff. The accident is going to be a problem for resale value. It's a Porsche. There was a moment there where that stuff stopped mattering, because everyone was buying everything. But I think that moment is over. And so any car, whether it's a Porsche or any kind of enthusiast car right now, the ones that are getting the premiums are the ones that are perfectly stock, perfectly blue chip. They're the ones that everybody wants. Anything that's weird or modded or has any kind of blemish on it, like an accident, is gonna pay. You're gonna pay the piper when it comes to resale value. You're not gonna get the premium on this. So PCAR Market tends to be fairly aggressive when it comes to allowing the sellers set the reserve, because PCAR Market has their deal tank. If a car doesn't sell, then it goes into the deal tank, and then a bunch of used car salesmen try to sell everyone who bid on the car. My guess is that whoever owns this is probably pretty proud of it. A lot of people really are still kind of hanging on, thinking, they're still worth all the money. This isn't an air-cooled car. If it were an air-cooled Porsche, it might be a different story. But I think the water pumpers, they're not, you're not going to get the premium for something like this anymore. The miles are great, but if it didn't have the accident and if it were all stock, it would be better than having all the great, fantastic mods that frankly I would put on a car like this, even though they're going to depreciate the car. So the question is, what do you think this car is worth, Michael Deeb?
So JP, if there was a paper receipt to substantiate the IMS, and if there wasn't the accident, I think this is a $60,000 car even today, or at least $59,000, right in that range. But I think the accident hurts it, and I think the fact that we are alleging, they have two people alleged to verbally confirm that the IMS was done, but nobody can produce a receipt. I don't think this car breaks $50,000. So I do think this car will hit $49,000. I don't know if it'll sell with there. I think, certainly PCAR Market doesn't seem to try to school their clients and say, hey, this is what you should try to sell the car, or this is what you should hope for with the car. I think they let people paint their own fantasy, and if it doesn't work out, then they get 3 weeks to put the car on the deal tank. My guess is this car probably, either hits my number at 49,000 or just under that, and could wind up in the deal tank for 60 or 65 grand, because PCAR Market doesn't have the cojones to tell this guy, pour cold water on this client and say, your car is never going to be worth that because of these two reasons that I just mentioned. But I'm going to go 49 grand. It could wind up in the deal tank for 60, but I'm going to go 49 grand and send it back to you. John, are you as optimistic that it's going to reach that number as I am, or no?
Nope, no way. I think, yes, this car is destined for the deal tank. Where is it at? 45 is kind of my number.
Okay.
I don't even know if this car is going to break 40.
It might not.
Yeah, but I mean, in this market, it's just I'm only going that high because you bid 49 and I want to beat the spread. For our little competition, but realistically, it's not going to happen, man. I mean, this thing has an accident on it.
JP, you know what I had for dinner? Chicken.
6 months ago, this car, I think, would have struggled to get much more than 55. 55 has kind of been the top for these.
I mean, what was your John? Remember, like 8 months ago, your friend, I think in Seattle, was selling one, and it was pretty nice.
Yeah,
was he trying to get like 48 or 50 from
he
that
wanted,
car?
He wanted, yeah,
twice
he
the
wanted,
miles.
yeah, he wanted over 50 for it, and I was considering it. I mean, I really like these cars. Yeah, twice the miles. Yeah. Had some mods on it, no accidents, but it had a confirmed IMS upgrade. And I knew the owner was a spectacular, Porsche owner. So, integrity matters here. Like you said, people are saying, look, if this were on Cars and Bids, even though I'm not saying Cars and Bids is the better platform for this car,
Sounds like you're saying that.
Well, no, what I'm saying, what I want to say is that if it were on Cars and Bids and someone made the claim that yes, this car had the IMS done, but we just don't have paperwork for it, I would consider that as probably legit. I would believe Doug DeMuro. I would believe his organization. Right? Yeah. I mean, for sometimes we knock Cars and Bids for a lot of reasons, but it's not integrity. Usually it's because, their aesthetic is a little goofy.
Cargo shorts and a printed T-shirt.
Right. But I think that, they're stand-up guys over there, whereas I don't think the same thing for PCAR Market. I think I've said it a million times before. They're kind of sleazy, man. So when they're just like, oh, yeah, it's fine, don't worry about it. I mean, the PCAR Market guys, they do a podcast too, and they'll sit there and they'll do a market update on Porsche 997s, and they'll talk about 6 or 7 997s, and they won't even mention IMS on any of it.
Ever.
It's like
it's so weird.
There's nothing worse than that. I would prefer to have, when you ask about the IMS from someone, I would prefer to them to just flat out say, I don't know if it's been done. There's nothing worse than when they say, "Oh, it's a dual row one, so it doesn't need it. Doesn't have the problem." It's like, yes, if it has an IMS, it's a problem. And anyways, so I don't know. Let's get in our future machine and let's.
You know who's good at repairing IMS bearings is our friends at God and Porsche.
Yeah, let's hear a message from them, and we'll find out how much this car sells for right after this, guys. Hey, guys, I got to tell you about our friends Godden Porsche of Las Vegas and Godden Classic. If you're looking for a new Porsche or a classic, you got to call our friend Steve at Godden, this guy.
1989 linen gray metallic G50 cab.
Is that going to be for sale?
It is going to be for sale. The car only has 65,000 miles.
Save yourself the hassle of screwing around with all the auctions like we always talk about, and just talk to Steve. He'll find you the classic Porsche you're looking for. Godden Porsche of Las Vegas. Hey everybody, welcome back to Bid Nerds. Thanks for sticking around and watching that message from our buddies over at Godden. You got to go check those guys out. Okay, so look, if you haven't hit the subscribe, like, or notification button, now is the time to do it. You've stuck around this long, you got to get part of the herd, right? I mean, be part of the nerd nation, and while you're at spread the word. Share a nerd. Yeah. Share one of these videos. Let other people know that we're out here doing this every day. We love doing it for you. All right, Michael D., tell me about, really quick, just a quick recap on this 2004 911 Anniversary Edition. What's up?
JP, 35,000 miles out of Oyster Bay. They couldn't hard confirm the IMS, but they insisted it was done. There's no luggage with the car, standard seats. But really nice car. The Olean suspension gives this car such a sweet stance. I really thought that at $49,000, which was my bid, that it would fail to sell and probably wind up in PCAR Market's deal tank in the $60,000 range. You came in a little more pragmatic, as you normally do, at $45,000. JP, this car sold at $45,000. You got yourself a Yahtzee, my friend.
Holy
I as much as, listen,
Yahtzee.
I want to own one of these cars one day, and I really want to drive the snot out of it. at $45,000, when I saw this result, I was kicking myself. I should have put a bid on it. If I really thought that they would let this car go as nice as this one appears to be, for under 50 grand, I feel like I would have taken a shot on it. Now I'm going to try and sell my 914. I'm going to try and sell the 190E. So I'm not really ready to make bids and be at an offer. My wife will kill me as we have a new baby, but man, 45 grand for this car, considering what some of the C4Ss and anniversary cars have gone for, even if the market is receding, this seems like a value play here. Congratulations to the buyer.
Yeah, I think that was a pretty fair deal, and clearly I
fair
know what
deal's
I'm talking about, and you don't. No, look, this is one of the best driving cars. It's not a GT3 of the era. I mean, these cars really are fantastic, and I don't think you take the word for. I don't think you take the seller's word for it that had an IMS. I think you get this car shipped to wherever you live, and you go straight to your shop, and you have them pull the transmission and put a new IMS in there, and check the clutch.
Like God and
Porsche. Yeah,
God and Porsche could do that for you.
Yeah, you're absolutely. I mean, that's absolutely correct. Because like finding a dealership or a privateer, someone that works on classic Porsches that knows the ins and outs of this type of engine, stuff like that. You don't want to take this to some shop that doesn't know what an IMS is.
JP, I worked at God and Porsche for 3 years. And I had a real close relationship with Frank, who was the classic technician at that time. So our tenures pretty much overlapped the entire time. I'm telling you, with great certainty, they have done over 1,000 IMS bearings between Boxsters and 996s. I mean, they have literally done thousands of these since the issue was started.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
At the dealership, do they replace it with a upgraded Porsche one, or do they go with the LN Engineering one?
Ooh, that's a good question. I believe it is at the client's discretion, but I cannot say that with 100% certainty. So it would be worth a phone call to the to God and Porsche to discuss it, how you would prefer to have yours done. JP, would you go with the Porsche or would you go with the LE?
I would definitely go with the LE. I mean, that's the one that seems to have the tested. Everyone's been going with that one. I'll say I've heard of those failing too. I mean, absolutely it does. But I don't know of anyone that's had it done and then had it fail. I've heard of people having bought cars with LE bearings prior to their ownership, and those ones failed. Right. So I don't know. The M96 engine is a little scary in that regard. I mean, if this engine goes, you're looking at a $25,000 repair bill, or maybe even more. Is this the kind of car that, okay, you buy it for $45,000, and then God forbid something does go wrong with it, and you got to put another 20 grand in? Well, okay, you're in it somewhere in that, 60 something $1,000. You could be in a worse car. At least once you get that fixed and get the engine running, you got one of the best cars ever again with a fresh engine.
Oh my God.
I don't know. Not a situation you really want to be in, but it's not the worst. You could be worse. I don't know. So you're actually considering an M96 car as a replacement when you get the 94?
Not really. I just listen, I am currently without 911 and I really want one. So I am jonesing, especially now we're doing the show again, and I'm like, I'm completely submerged in the market and I'm looking at all the cars. Every night I go to bed, I'm dreaming of a 911 and dreaming of selling the cars that I have for all the money so I can go buy something really nice. But man, this car for under 50 grand, it's a 35,000 mile example, and it's got Öhlins suspension. I mean, the suspension system on here is probably in the $5,500 to $7,500 range just for the parts shipped. So then you got to go and have the labor to have them put on and stuff. I mean, that's almost a $10,000 job. This is a really nice car.
Well, okay. I mean, you're right. So this thing's got to drive just fantastic, right? So I have in my, I've got a couple of 911s. I'm pretty darn lucky guy, but they're both air-cooled cars. I've got the 86, and that's a backdate, hot rod, suspension, all the fun things. And then I've got a 964 cab that's, bone stock pretty much. And I'm debating, do I let the 964 go and get something modern, you know, like a 997.2, which is going to put you in that $60,000 range, right? $60,000-$70,000 range. Or do you save the money and roll the dice, get something like this for 45 and hope that you know, replace the IMS bearing and hope that it works out? I mean, honestly, this car drives as well or better than any 997.2, other than, you know, a GT version of that. So I don't know.
That's a question that'll keep you up at night. But is the juice worth the squeeze? I don't know. I haven't driven one, but I just know
you would love it.
You
would absolutely love
it. Fantastic.
No doubt. What do you guys think? Let us know in the you know, comments below. What would you do in my situation? What would you do in Deeb's situation? What would you do in your own situation? Is it worth the risk getting a car that could have an M986 huge IMS failure, or do you think that stuff is just totally overblown? It's not nearly as big a deal as everyone says it is. Was this car a great deal? And does this represent a softening? I mean, just a few months ago, you know, 6 months ago, this definitely would have been $10,000 more. Yeah.
Or more.
Or more. Yeah. 35,000 miles. All right. Well, it'll be interesting to see what's to come in the coming days and weeks as we make predictions. Did you play along? Was your bid better than ours?
Yeah.
Did you win?
Did anybody else Yahtzee on JP, or was it him alone?
I'm the one that Yahtzeed. Called it.
Yes.
Right. All right, guys.
Yahtzeed in my face.
We will see you tomorrow.